Oh man. Oh, it's good shit.
Um, so with that, this whole sneaky microtransaction thing essentially started in the mobile scene. What it essentially is let's say you're playing something like, because I actually haven't played the Clash games. I stayed away because I was like, fuck, like literally, I had my old roommates all dropped like 10, $20 in like the first couple of months playing that thing. They're addictive, and it is literally starting to see studies come out where they're debating or proposing that there are psychological, they're literally taking advantage of the human susceptibility and psychology around addiction and the reward centers that humans have and have built essentially for survival, taking advantage of that to drastically increase their profits, and it's being hugely successful. But it's also not really being challenged that much for how much it's kind of the thing that, like, you talk to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, that's, I know that's what they're doing, but not a lot of people are really attacking this or pushing to see what can happen in reverses. But anyway, so back to what it actually is. You're in a game, and you're in a game, and these games are free, right? You go on a mobile game, it's free because essentially there was this, and that's another topic that I'll definitely want to look into, is kind of the history history of mobile apps and like their quality, you know what I mean? Because in the early days, apps were fucking garbage, especially on Android. They were garbage, right? So because these apps were garbage, people essentially got used to, like, no one would pay for your garbage. So because so much people are putting out garbage, because everything's garbage, so even if you put out garbage, as long as your garbage is better than the garbage out there, it's not that bad. So the quality increased just slowly. The quality, like the first couple of years, were garbage. So at least on Android, people didn't pay a lot for apps, and even on iPhone, there's just a cap. I think apps over $5 are basically laughed at even nowadays. No one pays $20 for an app. You can. Having, in my previous company, we were we built an application, and the quality level of that, and, obviously I may be a bit biased, but the quality level of that has desktop level quality, or the time is similar to that put in a desktop level application. You can make, but it was free, right? We had to keep it free because that's the perception. You can make a $20 mobile app, right? You can make a mobile app that is not just priced. You can make a mobile app that is worth $20. If you pay $20 for this on desktop, you can make it available on mobile. But nobody would ever pay $20 for it, right? They'd pay $20 for it on desktop or on web and then download the mobile app for free. But no one's gonna pay $20 for just a mobile app. So essentially most mobile apps just are free because that stigma kind of was built up in the early days because apps were so trash. And now it's like, even though you can make very high quality apps now, the technology has progressed more than far enough, you can't pay for it. And of course, most of the biggest apps in the world, all the social apps, the banking apps, the sports apps, they're all free. So no one's gonna really pay. So because of that, same with gaming. There are a lot of games nowadays that are coming out in a free, and I prefer that. Which is probably the console and PC gamer part of me talking, but I prefer to just, pay for a game and that's it. I have everything, and that's fine if I have to unlock stuff in the game through difficulty and through playing the game and having fun like I should. I'm fine with that, right? I don't want to have things spoon fed to me. If there needs to be a way to have things spoon fed, toss in cheat codes like back in the old days. But I don't need to have, oh, you can play our game or pay $3 to play less of our game. Like, how does that, you know? But regardless, a lot of people apparently don't share that opinion. So, app, these game developers, mobile game developers, make their game free, and then they recoup their money by in-app or in-game purchases. Okay, that's fine in theory because you get the game for free, you dive into it, you start playing it, you see whether you like it or not. You can usually, if it's built properly, you can usually get through the first couple of like levels or whatever it is, um, and have the full experience of the game. That's how that should be. And then as you kind of continue and go, so if you're kind of doing like say the trial route, you get that full experience of the game, and then you reach a point where it's like, okay, you need to pay if you want to continue. There's that model, so you still download it for free. It's just once you hit a certain point in the game, like say there's 10 chapters in the game, after chapter 2 you have to pay, right? And it should be effective because you get attached to your character, and you can tell if you play the whole 2 chapters, chances are you'd like to continue. Or you have it where you can play, and they say you can still play the full game. Like say the other model where it's not a trial, it's completely free in real heavy quotes, like bolded, italics, Times New Roman, all that good shit. But the game is built in a way so that you effectively either have energy, time, or difficulty. I believe that's how it's typically broken down into. So with the time or energy one, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's like you can only play one level per hour, say, to make it easy, or one level every 20 minutes, right? Or maybe it's something like you can play, or no, the time one, say that I kind of one that was pretty common a few years ago is these games like say Sunset Island Paradise or something, where you'd want to build like a resort, so you place a building down, and then the building will generate money, but it generates money like every hour or so. So you basically have to come out to the game every hour to click on the building, basically just to recoup your money. And it doesn't keep going. So it's like if you wait 3 hours, well, there's 2 hours your building wasn't generating money because you have the old money there waiting. So it almost forces you to come back and keep paying, keep clicking, to get this money. So, or to get the money from in game at least. And then you can usually pay to get things sped up. So maybe you pay for a booster so that instead of an hour, everything only takes 20 minutes, right? Or even better, you pay for an auto collector so that for the next 12 hours, all money you get will be auto collected. So you're very efficient, right? But then that costs $3. And it's like, you don't really think about it because it's not something you really even start off with. You ignore it. But then when you reach a point that you're deep in the game, you're getting your buildings like leveled up and you're starting to get some money, but it's just annoying that you have to open this up every 1 hour just to be optimized. So, it's just a little $3 and get all this money. And it's just $3 so that I can get this building upgrade to get to the next level. It's really, I wouldn't say subtle nowadays at least, but it's built in a way so it's very sequential, and it's built so that it slowly eases you into the point where you more and more have to rely on the payment methods as a source of beating stuff. And really, if you're the kind of person that doesn't dive too much into a game, you just play and you get bored easily, you'll be fine. You'll probably get bored of the game long before then. It's the people that are used to being able to complete or like play a game and get experience and get good. A lot of these games are built in a predatory way so that you're not able to get good without having spent some money, or it just takes you so fucking long. And sure, they can use the excuse that, well, you can get everything in the game for free, but if it takes you like 6 months and you have to open the app multiple times a day, every day, I'm not going to do that for 6 months. So it is theoretically possible to get it for free, but it's not practically possible. And that's kind of the preying thing, the preying way that they get you on mobile. So that's kind of how microtransactions worked in the mobile scene. But they were justified because it's free. They have to make money somehow, right? So they get away with a lot of this kind of scummy crap. And some of the top mobile games in the world are like, you'd be so shocked to know how much money some of the top grossing apps in countries like Korea are making. Right? I'm talking about the orders of billions in a week that some of these companies are making. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And a lot of it is through these predatory tactics that gets you hooked, gets you engaged, and then throws a price gate in your face. And by that, like, I'll give you an example. And I'm not too afraid or too ashamed to admit it, because I got out, thankfully, but I dropped probably like, maybe $100-200 on this game. It was called Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. It's on mobile. And I was always a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan growing up. I had a deck of like 200 cards, something ridiculous, back home. And we'd have like Yu-Gi-Oh! Battles after school, like in primary school behind the building, and we'd be like trading cards. It was serious shit. I was like the drug trades and shit, the black market back when I was in primary school and thing. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Was always a big thing for me. So when I heard that, they have Yu-Gi-Oh! On mobile, and I don't know how much people are like this. I'm kind of weird in that I not always really, I guess there's some exceptions, but most of the time when I'm playing a game, I'm playing it for the multiplayer. I don't know why. Call of Duty, there's probably only like 2 Call of Duties, maybe only one that I've ever played through the campaign with. And that's probably because they had split screen co-op. So, someone else wanted to play, and I'm like, I've never played it before. Yeah, let's go through. But I just generally don't like playing campaigns. I'm really bad at that kind of stuff. I really lean towards multiplayer only, or primarily multiplayer games. And because of that, one of the criteria typically for me getting into a game is popularity or population. Like, I don't want to get into a multiplayer game then no one's playing. It's like there's this game called Planetary Annihilation, which is a real-time strategy game. Looked fucking amazing, and I got like all my room. It was on sale, so maybe it wasn't the biggest loss, but I got all my roommates and shit at the time to download it. And essentially the premise was just, it's, if you know real-time strategy, like if you know StarCraft or Age of Empires, something like that, it's that kind of game, but it takes place on planets in a solar system. And, players can spawn on the same planet, they can spawn on different planets, and there's this cool system around, like fights on your own planet, traveling to other people's planets to fight them, and then even using planets against each other. Like you can build things on planets that shoots them into other planets or into the sun. Sounds cool as fuck, right? Except apparently it was on Kickstarter, and along with a bunch of other stuff like that on Kickstarter, mismanaged, ended up not reaching its full potential at all. Devs, dragged the foot on a lot of shit, and it died. So by the time I got into it, I got a couple good games with my roommates. They got bored of it. I was like, okay, matchmaking, and there was like 3 people online, and it's just so depressing that at that point I dived in hard. I was like, well, and I always do this with games that I get into, which is probably why I like multiplayer games, because a lot of them have skill based. But I like watch YouTube videos and tutorials and read articles and shit about like strategies and build orders. And I found like mods that made the game really cool. I was so hyped around it. I actually thought that it wasn't a terrible game. It was rough around the edges and a little raw in the middle, and there's like a little bit of dirt. I think someone maybe dropped it, but it still was good. And I don't know, it was disappointing. So after that, that scarred me a bit more, because there was a few games I've had like that where I got into them just way too late. And I tell you, like my last company it's called GamerLink. Really cool company, it's still going. I just sadly had to move on. New things came up, and I wasn't able to continue sadly. But great company. Co-founder's doing a good job, and they're doing good. So, but the company was literally based around helping to connect gamers, like help gamers find other gamers to play with for situations like this, because it's such a huge difference between getting into a game, even if it's really old, and having people to play with, and getting into it and there's just no one. It's like, guess I'll just gather dust in my library. Virtual dust. But anyway, so back to the original one, Duel Links. So this Yu-Gi-Oh game. So, Yu-Gi-Oh game looks pretty good. Like, I'm going on the subreddit, there's activity, the devs are like releasing shit every couple of weeks, and they're very active. I like that shit. Another game, not associated with any of these, by the way, if anyone's like, shilling out to the big game companies. No, you just promote shit, or I talk about shit that I think is good. It's technically kind of promoting, but whatever. I wish I got paid for some of this shit. But Fortnite is apparently another game similar to the one I mentioned before, PUBG. It's developed by Epic Games, which they've made some other good games. I think they're responsible for the Unreal Engine. So, just responsible for like one of the best gaming engines of all time, and their developers are fucking on point. I love that about a game or any software. That's what I always want to aspire to be like, is reactive, engage with the community, giving the people what they want. Because that's all we want, right? Give the people what they want. So Duel Links, I was in a similar boat. It was getting a lot of attention. It was growing rapidly. So I hopped in. The problem is that once you dive in a little bit, you realize that, and it's a card game, right? So if you don't have experience with these kind of card games like Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, Solitaire, maybe not the last one so much, although I feel it was like a shitty pay-to-win Solitaire that was like on fucking the Windows Game Store, if anyone uses that. But anyway, so this game, if you're not familiar with card games, essentially you build a deck, right, of the cards that you have, and usually you start off with pretty shitty cards, to be expected. To get more cards, they have things called packs. Or to be more specific, well, yeah, it is the packs, because you open a pack, and a pack of cards gives you 3. But a pack is a part of a box of cards. And if you want to get a specific card in a specific pack, not only do you have to open that pack that contains it, but you have to open it randomly from the boxes contained in. And the small boxes would contain, I think, around 80 packs. So worst case scenario, and when you paid, I think you paid about $1.50 to open 3 of these packs in a box. So you'd open 3 packs at a time, which basically means you're getting 9 cards at a time. But one of the mini packs, or boxes rather, would have 80 packs. Right? So I don't know, what is the fucking math? Let's do some quick math here. 8 divided by 3. So you're looking at around 26 packs. Well, 27, because you can't have an empty pack. So 27 times you need to open these boxes. You need to open packs in these boxes. Worst case scenario, this is to get all of them. You could get super lucky and get the card you're looking for in the first pack. You pretty much never do, because cards have different rarities. There's also duplicates of the less rare cards. So basically, you end up getting a crap ton of garbage with like one good thing every now and then. And it's like, you get that good thing just often enough so you want to toss some more money and get some more packs. And what you're thinking is like, oh, that's awful. So you can only get it through money? Why? How does this game even stay alive? How does this game exist with such a shitty, predatory business model? Well, just like the whole time nonsense, you can get these packs for free, quote unquote. But to do it, you have to acquire these gems. How do you get these gems? Well, you get them from basically having card battles against what they call the duelist in the game, or the other, like the AI or NPCs in the game. Okay, that's not bad. So you fight NPCs, you get these gems, and then you can use well, you don't even get the gems. You fight the NPCs just to get these keys, and these keys are what you would use to. Okay, I'm not even gonna dive. Like, this game was actually fucking awful. The more I dive in, I'll just try to focus on the gem part, because there was actually two predatory things going on at once. The gem part, basically, the only way to get gems was you would level up. So obviously, in the first, I think they had like 40 levels. The first 10 levels were a breeze. So you're leveling up all the time, literally just playing the game. You're getting gems. You're spending it on card packs. It's all a fun time. Once you reach like, upper level 20s, it's hard as fuck. And at this point, you're playing against maybe other people who've been playing it much longer than you. The AI itself is getting harder to fight. You need better cards, but you're not getting new cards and new gems at a rate fast enough to replenish the trash cards in your deck. So what do? And then what makes this all like, the reason I was kind of mentioning the duelist is that to fight the duelist, there's a limit. There's like 8 you can fight, and every time you fight them, they respawn in time. So if you fight all 8, which will probably take like say like 10 minutes maybe, they take like 2 hours or 3 hours or something ridiculous to all respawn back. So you literally throughout the day have to be like fighting all these things and then doing something and then coming back and fighting all these duelists, and it was ridiculous. It was actually ridiculous. So because of that, because of the difficulty of getting these gems, which were the free currency to buy these card packs, and because they frequently had pretty affordable sales, which means absolute trash because you're still spending money, but at least compared to, it's almost like they took it from unreasonable to what it should be. And it's so tempting to just get a few packs when the price is what it should fucking be, I don't know. It was bad. So that game, again, my love of Yu-Gi-Oh!, my competitive nature, also at the time I was just thirsty as fuck for a new game to fall in love with, right? It's just there weren't much good. Again, this was like coming off of the whole Pokemon Go stuff, I feel, too. There just wasn't a good game in general, I felt, that I wasn't burnt out of and that I enjoyed. So it was the thing is that it's a decent game, right? They actually changed the game in a way to make it pretty good for the mobile experience, but the predatory stuff are garbage. So a bit of off tangent there, but that kind of just shows the example of the predatory stuff going on in mobile. Again, though, this game is free. Does it mean anything if I end up paying $200 at the end of it? They try to say yes, because I didn't have to. I try to say you kind of have to if you even want to play the game, or you just get frustrated and give up on a game you actually enjoyed. I don't know. It's kind of bullshit. But now what's happening is that bullshit has migrated and is being implemented in full-blown If you're lucky, $60 games, because in Canada it's $80. So full blown $80 games are having this microtransaction nonsense where effectively the game is built in a way so that it's very difficult for you to enjoy or fully play the game's full experience without at least dipping in a little bit of money. And the worst part is that there's almost a thing where it has to be all or nothing. Well, hope not all. I don't want anyone like mortgaging their house, selling their cars, peddling crack, just to fucking play some of these games. But I mean, if it continues, that's probably where it's gonna be. Um, but the problem with these games is that they're just like it's full blown $80 games, and they're built in a way so that you can't get the full experience if you don't pay for these games, and because of that, it kind of has this all or nothing kind of experience with it, where you either have to spend no money at all and just be completely clean. Just don't give in to temptation. Just say, I'm gonna play this game 100%, grinding out, do whatever it takes, and if the grind gets too much, I just give up. And it's just rough that you almost have to limit yourself. Because again, a lot of times you don't get the full experience. You don't get you don't get all the weapons and the armor and fancy stuff that actually can help improve your experience. Before, it used to just be cosmetic. Now it's to the point where you're missing out on experience type stuff because of this. But you can either say, I'm gonna abstain completely and not get in bed at all with this demon, these monetization demons, or you do spend a tiny bit of money, and then the minute you spend money, it's like, well, I put in a shit ton of time probably to justify the money or enough. I've also put in some money. A little bit more is not bad. A little bit more, and and then you just go down the slippery slope of, you've put in time and money. You might as well enjoy this, and the more you want to enjoy this, the more you're gonna have to put in money, because that's how they build it. It's really shitty. It's a really terrible, terrible experience that I do hope dies a horrible death in the gaming community. And I think this was a good year for exposing it. It's getting worse and worse over the last couple of years, but the issues with Destiny 2, I think, apparently had some terrible stuff. Star Wars Battlefront 2 had some terrible issues. Even like sports games, apparently, pretty much everything EA touches, apparently. And not even in a joking way. Apparently EA is actually on a mission to put microtransactions in these monetary stuff in all of the games they make from now on, which is awful that that company can even exist with that kind of mindset. And the consumers aren't at their doors with burning laser pitchforks, just, protesting. I don't, because obviously, pitchforks can be boring nowadays. Come on, you need advanced pitchforks, at least. But I don't know. These microtransactions are really awful, and I think they are gonna keep getting worse, because they have just been keep getting worse, and people have just been accepting it, and they're okay with it, and they're just dealing with it. I don't know. But anyway, I really hope that this is something that can change, and that will. I think it will. I think it's gonna reach a breaking point. I myself have personally not been gaming as often, because it's like every game I get hyped on, it just turns out that, and obviously they're not promoting any microtransaction shit beforehand, right? I just end up being hyped around a game, and I was like, shit, it's gonna try to fuck me over. So, I just essentially have to approach every game with caution. Now, it's at the point where I'm getting back to old games. I think at the beginning of this podcast I was mentioning Final Fantasy Tactics. I've been playing like that game on a PSP emulator. I've been diving into some really old games. It's crazy. It's really crazy that the stuff that the changes that have happened with my gaming life. Like, I'm playing fucking Crusader Kings 2. And I don't even know what I was playing the other day. And these are all good games, but that's kind of the whole point, is that these games that are 10, 20 years old, I'm going into and I'm reliving, and it's not fun. It's, some people might say, "Oh, you're just looking through is it rose-colored glasses? Is that it?" I don't know. I feel rose-colored glasses are actually pretty dope. But regardless, looking through those, and it's like, you just think it's fun, but no, I'm going back into this game, and I am having fun. And I mean, I'm putting in 10, 20, 30 hours into these old ass games. You know why? Because they look like shit, but they're still fun. And that's what I think is really missing in the games nowadays. I really hope it comes, not all games, obviously. It's not just black and white. Nintendo's doing a great job this year, or they did a great job this year with releasing really good, highly acclaimed, enjoyable games. And there have been fun games that have come out with all this crap going on, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel next year might be decent. Personally, there's this game called Monster Hunter World. So Monster Hunter is personally my favorite gaming series of all time. I think secondly followed by Red Dead Redemption, which isn't a gaming series, but is a game that I'm worried because of what happened to GTA, Rockstar's gonna fuck up. The next is Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out, I think, next year. That's gonna get fucked up because of microtransactions. So I can't even get excited for my second favorite game of all time. Like the sequel to it. That to me is disappointing. Because gaming has gotten to a point where these greedy fuckers are just trying to get all our money. And I would pay more money for these good games. Because I'm not getting some of these games at all. I cannot fathom. I know it's some shit. Some real shit's going on in these boardrooms for this to be going on. I cannot fathom how they're justifying this. Like, there has to be wars between the people that are building this stuff that they passionately love and their names are attached to, but they have to muddy with shady monetary tactics, and the people that feel these monetary tactics are justified. There has to be some war going on between them. I don't see how they're able to I don't see how they're able to cooperate in a business and efficiently build up an effective following when they're so greedy minded. I don't know. But anyway, I do hope that these things will change. But yeah, I was recently mentioning Monster Hunter World. That game's gonna be amazing. That game's gonna be amazing. And that's the game that I am excited for because it's one of the few game developers. It's made by Capcom. I know that they're gonna do a good job. They've put out a shit ton of content already. They already have the beta available. They have tons of people reviewing it, giving them feedback. It's one of the few you ever have those games where it's almost kind of like where you have your favorite artist, like a singer or a rapper or something, that if they're underground and they're kind of hidden and you love their style and they're amazing, and then they become mainstream and they kind of start changing to more appeal to a mainstream audience, and you're just like, they lost it. And they do sometimes. That initial appeal that those artists have when they were undiscovered is gone when they become big, because now they're just trying to, and you could understand they're doing what they need to for the bags, for the money, but sometimes you wish some of the creativity was still there in a mix with it. But it's kind of the same thing that can happen with things like video games or movies that are niche or underground and then blow up and become mainstream. You're afraid that they're gonna just pander to the audience and just not be successful. And that was an initial worry with Monster Hunter, because they specifically talked about this game being something that is going to be better for the audience that hasn't been a part of Monster Hunter that hasn't been a part of the Monster Hunter journey up until this point. However, after going through, watching the videos and stuff that talk about all of the small quality of life updates and the big changes they've done so far, it's not often I see something where I'm like, basically everything is good. It's like, I can get behind all of this. There's definitely some stuff they did that makes things easy. I won't even say easier. It's more that there's things they had in that either added artificial difficulty or, they maybe were experimenting with, and the hardcore audience, me included, loved it. But it wasn't really necessary. Like, say for instance, there's this one mechanic they had called paintballing, where you would literally throw a paintball at, because the game it's called Monster Hunter. You're literally hunting giant ass monsters. It's so fun. When you found a monster, you throw a paintball at it, so that if the monster ran away, you could track it again on your map. However, pretty much all monsters would rub the paintball off, some faster than others, and it's very easy to just get lost in hunting this monster, and then you don't realize it rubbed the paintball off, it flies away, and then you look at your map and you're like, fuck, and there's like 5 places it could be, it moves around when you move around, so you literally can spend 10 real life minutes searching for this fucker. And, it was just annoying. So now they changed it with this mechanic where they call scout flies, which name doesn't really matter, but basically it's this mechanic where monsters leave clues around, like they'll leave footprints or scratches or like mucus and stuff on trees, and then you literally use that, and you have these flies that take those tracks of those clues and Scooby-Doo their way around the fucking forest to find this thing. It's really cool. So, and it's a better mechanic, because it's one less thing, you worry about it, but it's more fun to actually go tracking and hunting the monster than it's like, oh yeah, let's throw this paintball, and I literally just have to regularly throw a paintball every now and then, just so So, I don't know, I love all the quality of life fixes, and I wish a lot more games were comfortable with doing those quality of life fixes as opposed to, and doing some big changes too, but they really made the game better for the mainstream audience by understanding what was wrong and annoying with the game and then fixing it. So yeah, it's just, I'm not sure, I love, please give me feedback on this episode. I'm pretty much wrapping up at this point now. I was planning to talk about multiple topics this episode, but again, I somehow managed to spend pretty much the whole episode just for, well, it technically wasn't just microtransactions. I did touch on some areas with gaming, my history with gaming, and kind of with apps and that kind of stuff. But I would like some feedback as to, how do you think this is? Do you think it's good having essentially one episode focused on one topic, and I just dive into, and this isn't really my deep dives into stuff yet, I'm really just, talking and discuss. I really kind of want to start building a discussion around this stuff and see what you think about it. But what do you think? Should I talk about it like this, or should I try to compress the idea into more shorter bits and then fit in multiple topics per episode? Because for instance, I'll just actually talk about it the other episode, but what I was going to talk about was, which is actually really cool, I definitely think maybe there'll be the whole episode. I didn't think this was going to be the whole episode, so I'm definitely surprising myself here. Maybe I like talking more than I thought. It's going to be intelligence in animals, and that's because there's this post I saw on Reddit that talked about how apparently apes are not able to ask questions, and they don't really consider the fact that other apes might know things that they don't know. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, I'll dive into that for the next episode, but yeah, that was my thoughts on microtransactions. Let me know what you think.